Welcome to GMP, the Great, Glorious, and Glamorous, aka the Going North Podcast, where authors from around the world help you realize that success is tangible. You'll leave with at least one new piece of inspiration or information to help you keep going north every Monday, Thursday, and Saturday. Now let's get on with the show. Today's episode is sponsored by the GoingNorthPodcast.com shop. And if you head over to the wonderful website, cop some merchandise, take a selfie with you rocking the gear, shoot it to yours truly, the host, dombrightman@gmail.com, and I will give you a shout out on the show as well, and heck, even tag you on social media as well. So feel free to check out some of the good old merch on GoingNorthPodcastShop.com. Now let's get on with some super special, awesome content. And today on the Highlight Reel Builder for Authors, known as GMP, the Great, Glorious, and Glamorous, it's the Going North Podcast. And we got another super special, awesome human for you today, courtesy of Podmatch.com, the site where the podcast guests appear like a book of matches. And they light up the listeners of the podcast they guest on, because today's guest is no different. She's a champion for women writers, y'all, who are often criticized for tackling darker subjects in fiction. So you heard that right, folks. We got a lot of subgenres in fiction for a reason now, folks. More folks get to express themselves. And she also has a creative writing background, as well as being a film professor with over 30 years. You heard that right, folks. 30 years of experience in higher education. So all the weed, ladies and gentlemen, all the weed. So let's give it up for the one and only lovely and stupendous Luanne Smith. How you doing today, Luanne?
I'm great. Thank you for having me. It's great to finally be here.
Oh yeah, that's right indeed. A lot of speed bumps on the way here. Hey, a crocodile came out and bit somebody's foot, and then a random parachute flew into a lot of homes, and there was quicksand when you pressed the start button on your computer.
All that stuff, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you wake up and it's like, hey, I got that podcast today. Oh, darn. I guess I have to put on bunny ears and eat chocolate now for no reason. What it ain't about the bunny ears, it's about the lovely Luanne. So my goodness, as with all introductions, they're not allowed to be 35 days long, and I've probably only covered maybe half a day worth of information. So am I filling in any cavities I may have missed about you?
Originally from Kentucky, that's where the accent's from. Lived in, I went to graduate school at Penn State, and then I got a job at Westchester University near Philadelphia. So I kind of went sideways and ended up living in Pennsylvania and Philadelphia and in New Jersey for 30 plus years. But the accent never went away. And home is still Kentucky. But I recently retired and I moved down to Florida, like, you're supposed to do when you retire. And that's what I'm doing now. So I'm down here celebrating my birthday at the casino. So
Woohoo! Yeehaw, baby, that's right indeed. So did you ever have a dream to ride a crocodile, and have you ridden one yet? Has that happened yet?
I haven't even seen one yet. I'm so disappointed. I've been here months and I haven't even seen one yet. So
The lies. They've been lying to us the whole time. I thought it was Crocodile or Gator City.
I keep waiting, nothing. So a lot of pelicans. I've seen a lot of pelicans, but no crocodiles yet, no alligators. So missing out on that part.
Oh, that's what I'm talking about indeed. Well, one thing's sure, you didn't miss out on all the writing, so by goodness, the lovely roots of the wonderful state of Kentucky, all the way to Penn State, getting some semi-fresh Prince of Bel-Air goodness, and went down south again to Florida. So my goodness, it's like a triangle of awesome. It's like 3 points of a triangle. So my goodness, what made you decide to go into the creative arts after going to Penn State?
I always wanted to write, and I actually went into creative writing before I got to Penn State. I did my degree at Penn State in creative writing. So, I could teach. That was the goal, to be able to teach creative writing. And, creative writing won't necessarily keep food on the table. So you got to have something else to do. And I wanted to teach. And so I got the position at Westchester and moved halfway across the state and ended up there for 30 years. So, it was great. I got into film while I was in grad school at Penn State as well, and was fortunate enough to be able to teach both of them while I was at Westchester. So it was wonderful. So Penn State offered me money. That's the reason I ended up out of Kentucky and up at Penn State. So can't turn that down.
Hey, that much is true indeed, definitely indeed. Because hey, it's like, hey, if you're paying for it, I'm all for it. I'm all for it indeed. Everybody likes free. That's right indeed. Make good grades and you'll be straight.
Mhm.
That's right indeed. That's right indeed. So basically, putting pen to paper and visuals to screen. So my goodness, my goodness, how was it like with the film experience? With especially, I guess, over these past few decades or so, when it's probably advanced a lot further than it did in the 1900s now.
Oh, yeah. Well, I had the great experience when I was at grad school of them, the film department adapting one of my short stories into a short film. And so I got to write the script and I got to watch the changes and the sort of collaboration that went on. It was a very Southern story, and I had to figure out how to make it a very Pennsylvania story suddenly. And so I went to a lot of dive bars in rural Pennsylvania to pick up the accent of how people talked to try to cost me a whole lot of beers trying to get people to talk to me in places. But, I tried to pick up how people talked and make it as genuine as possible for them. So that was great. I had that experience. And then I got into teaching film. And I love especially teaching the how to read film, where you talk about all the specifics of what goes into the visual image of film. I really enjoyed teaching that class. So we had a great time with that.
Ah, that's freaking huge right there. That's right indeed. 'Cause, yeah, you have a deeper understanding and perspective of the behind the scenes work that a lot of folks wouldn't even consider. So, any three
Mhm.
major lessons you picked up from teaching film, or heck, even just being a professor, period?
Oh, sure. I think the best part about being a creative writing professor is that I learned as much from my students as I hope they learned from me. For example, I taught pop culture classes occasionally, and my sense of pop culture stopped in the 90s at some point, And so when I said, okay, who's Kendrick Lamar, they showed me who Kendrick Lamar was and things like that. And so they kept me up to date on things. And I took them back in time to sort of show them how we got to where we are now with pop culture. And so we kind of work together on things like that. And I think I tried to do that in all my classes, tried to get as much from them as they could get from me. So it was great, great exchange. It was a great career to have. I think I miss the students. I don't miss the rest of it, the paper grading and all that sort of thing. So, you know, but I do miss the students.
Ah, that's what I'm talking about indeed. Is anything else stuck out to you besides getting to learn from the kids?
Sure, I mean, one of the things about a creative writing program and a film program is it's two different ways of telling a story. And I think that for my own writing, especially, I learned about the visual aspects of telling a story from film and how to kind of adapt that into description in a creative writing story, a written story, and tried to learn about pacing a little bit from both of them as well. They've got different structures to them, but pacing is a whole other thing, and in today's world, the pacing of a movie is faster than it used to be because the audience is used to visual images coming at them really fast. And so, even if you watch a older film, the editing cuts are going to be slower than what they are now. because they want a new image in front of you as fast as possible. And so, if that's storytelling now, then written stories have to be that way too. That's if you want people to read you, you can't linger. You've got to keep moving with it, because that's the audience you have now. So you gotta move along.
Ah, yeah. And you're definitely right about pacing because it's so darn true. And funny enough, it's like so many images are coming at you faster, but it feels like the movies are getting longer, which is kind of funny to me.
Yeah, that's true. You're right about that.
It's like, oh, 90-minute film, that's good. Nowadays, like, oh, especially the Marvel films nowadays and the
Mhm.
big, huge ones, like, oh, 3 hours long. Is your body ready for this one? It's like, okay.
Exactly. Like you have to work out to go to a movie.
Work out the bodies and the bank accounts somehow,
Mhm.
right?
Oh, yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Oh my goodness. That's what I'm talking about, dates. That's right, days. Speaking of creativity and creative writing, actually
Mhm.
are part of multiple anthologies, if I'm not mistaken. Actually, spearheading a couple of them.
I'm about to start work on my 4th anthology now, and the theme-wise, they all fit together a little bit, so we're kinda calling it a series, because they all deal with characters that are outsiders in some way, and they all deal with trying to with sort of a gritty subject matter. The first one is about running away, whether it's physically running away or emotionally or mentally running away. And then the second one is taboos and transgressions, which is about, committing taboos, making mistakes or doing it on purpose for the sake of empowerment in some way. And then the third one that just came out is Muddy Backroads, which is stories from off the beaten path, where we're trying to get to stories that are kind of the road trip stories that get us out of a civilization where anything can happen, which is something that comes from the T.C. Boyle story that's in the anthology itself. And the one we're about to start working on has to do with stories that deal with poverty, and trying to bring together stories from a rural setting and urban setting and look at what poverty is in both of those two different worlds. And so, like I said, it's dark. I'm not necessarily going for the lighter subjects, but I think I'm trying to say something with the anthologies that I'm putting out there, that there's a whole world of people out there who don't quite fit into the norm that we uh, hold up as the ideal, and that we're all capable of wanting to run away, of committing taboos, of staring off the beaten path. And then this last one, like I said, I really want to take a look at class with it. Um, Comes from my own background. I grew up working class, kind of moved away from that as I got older. And I went to college at a time when you could actually still work your way through college, and pay for it and not have to sell your soul for student loans. So I was fortunate that I could do that, could work my way through college and go on from there. But it's, I got a foot in both worlds. I got a foot in the academic middle class world, and I got a foot in that working class life that never went away. Still feel like I'm much more the working class kid than I am anything else. So just trying to show my world.
Yeah. Hey, gotta thank inflation for the working class world that's happening, huh?
Hmm. Yeah. 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 More and more of us headed that way, I think. So
Oh yeah, definitely indeed, definitely indeed. And it's good you're actually covering topics that a lot of folks may not even want to cover because we're in a society now and the way the world is today, a lot of things are a lot more open. A lot of folks are being a lot more vulnerable, and folks are struggling and doing some things that may seem a little off for those who may have grew up in a different generation. But it's like, hey, it's stuff that's
Mhm.
actually happening and stuff that needs to have some light shed on it so we can hopefully prevent that from happening for future generations. Because if I'm not mistaken, the whole running away thing, I believe you love to run away a lot when you were younger, Todd, if I'm not mistaken, right?
I did, but my grandfather told me that I had a kind of an ornery Southern grandfather, and he told me that 5-year-olds would get arrested if they crossed the street. And so I thought I would go to jail if I actually crossed the street where the sidewalk was on the other side of the street. So I ran away by walking up and down the front of our backyard, with my dog. And so that's how I ran away from home. Mom would just let me because she knew because of grandpa, I wasn't going anywhere. I didn't want to go to jail. So that's why I ended up there.
Oh, okay. Boy, he probably saw it come. Was like, yeah, we got a wanderer right here. Let me say
I think
something
he
that'll prevent.
did. I think you're right.
That's right, indeed. Let's put a stop to this nomad swag real quick. Let's put it in the head. Tell her they'll turn into a turtle in jail. That's right, indeed.
Exactly.
That's right. It's still got some rebelliousness in you because I hear you finally got some magical tattoos and joined the crowd.
I've got about 10 tattoos. I'm covered in them. I've got like the full arm going on there and got it, they're all over. So
Ah,
I started in my 30s and just kept going. This was the last one I got about 6 months ago. So I think my skin's not, it's getting to where it won't take it anymore though. So I'm going to have to give it up, I think. So
ah.
one of the aging problems.
Oh, oh yeah. As some jokingly called, the check engine lights start appearing out of nowhere for no reason.
That's right. Yes.
Like it's gonna be a good day. Like darn it. No, not Uncle Artie. No, he went from cousin to uncle real quick. Like dang. Oh man. Oh my goodness, my goodness. So got that rebel spirit in you, and you're probably amassing a whole group of rebels in their own specific, wonderful, creative ways. So my goodness, what helps you to get that confidence to be able to really help rebels to get their confidence per se?
It's I've that's what I've always been drawn to. I wrote in the preface of Muddy Backroads that an interviewer asked me at one point why I was drawn to these gritty stories, and it took me a long time to come up with an answer. And for me to say I've always been that way doesn't sound like it makes sense, but at the same time, when I was about 8 years old, my family traveled from Kentucky up to New York City for the first time. And when I came back, my class teacher asked me to tell everybody about what I saw in New York City. And of course, I had seen the Statue of Liberty and the Empire State Building, but that's not what I told them about. I told them about seeing hippies. I told them about the drunk guy on all fours throwing up in Little Italy. I told them about the woman riding the escalator in the bus station singing the top of her lungs. It's the people that I noticed that stood out a little bit, even in New York. And so it's always been there with me for some reason, that sort of outsider uh, draw in some way, and certainly I think honestly, I think everybody has felt like an outsider at some point or another. So I think it's something in writing that anybody can relate to. No matter what the story's saying, if it's the emotion that I think people can relate to. And so that's where at least what I tell myself when I pull all these anthologies together that sort of look at the outsider, that there is an audience for this. So it just is, like I said, I can't explain where it comes from in me. Is just always been there.
Ah, there you go. That's right. It's already been in there like swimwear. That's right. It's always been there, y'all. That's right. Day. That's right. Indeed. It's been in that. Indeed. And yeah, especially visuals like those. Like you're gonna, yeah, those are kind of
Yeah.
hard to leave the brain.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. So my goodness, you've been on a bit of a podcast interview tour this year, promoting the good work that you're doing and the stuff that you're cooking up via the pen with all of your work. So my goodness, is there a question that you wish you'd be asked more often when you're on the guest side of the game on these podcasts?
Well, because I do anthologies, I'm always editing, and people aren't talking to me about my own writing very much. Which I've got a lot going on with that. I've got a collection of short stories I'm shopping around, and I'm working on a novel. So, I've got stuff in the works. And the one great thing about retirement is I feel like I'm finally the person that I've been wanting to be all my life. I'm finally the writer, and that's it. That's all I am, is the writer and somebody who deals with the written word all the time. And it's a great release in some way. As much as I enjoy being a teacher, um, it's nice to be who I felt like I was deep in my soul. As a writer and somebody who wants to be creative. It's my turn now. It's my turn to be the one who's not grading the papers, but the one who's writing my own, and doing my own work. So I'm really excited about that. Nobody asked me about that, so that's why I just threw all that out there.
Hey, well, that's the point. We want you to be you, and it feels good to know that you finally get to be you for real now. It's like, yay, Luanne's free and retired. She doesn't have to grade papers or assign papers to grade.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And got some writings of your own, a wonderful compilation of short stories. So, my goodness, any other big plans for your writing future?
Well, the novel's going to take a while. I just signed on to work with a really wonderful writer named Connie Mae Fowler, who's a fairly well-known Southern writer, and she's going to mentor me through writing the novel because I'm such a short story writer that writing something that long, I'm like, I don't think I have a plot going yet, and I need help with this. And so she's going to help me with it. And so I'm really, really glad to be working with her and try to figure out what the novel actually does finally, even after, I taught it and read them for many, many years, but to actually sit down and try to write one, whole different animal, and so tackling that, I think I'm really excited about doing that. And that's where my energies are going to go for a while now. Aside from my bucket list, that's where my energies are going to go.
Ah, that's what I'm talking about, indeed. All right, so the next great Luanne novel, the short stories, of course, the magical anthologies, indeed. So, my goodness, my goodness. So, how do you keep yourself focused and confident when there's naysayers? Because, if I'm not mistaken, you had some naysayers in your own family when you sought out to become a writer, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Oh yeah, coming from a working class family, they didn't understand what on earth I was talking about when I was saying I'm going to go to graduate school and study writing. They're like, "Why don't you get a job?" Of course, I had a job, but it was selling yeah, it was selling hamburgers, and so to them, they're like, you need to settle in and get a career and do something so that you can make your living. And I said, well, I will be teaching in graduate school and I will be moving on. And they just didn't understand that at all. And they certainly didn't understand wanting to be a writer, because dad worked, he was basically worked at the electric company and Mom worked at a bank, and that's a job, being a writer is not a job. So, let's find something else here that's about keeping the bread on the table kind of thing. I didn't forget that. I knew I needed to do that too. But it was just something very hard for them to wrap their heads around. They finally did. They knew me well enough to know that I was going to do it, whether they said yes or no. So they finally just supported me on it. And then when I became a college professor, they were actually impressed. Worked out.
Oh yeah, they're like, yeah, our little Luanne's a college professor, baby. That's right.
Yeah.
Right. D gave birth to a
Uh-huh.
professor, y'all. That's right. She's teaching. She gets 2 apples a day, y'all. She's a professor. Higher education, higher pay, so 2 apples.
Exactly, yes.
Oh man. Well, speaking of magical food, my goodness, that wonderful anthology of yours, The Muddy Backroads. If that book was a food, what would it be and why?
Ooh, wow. Let's see. That would probably be dark chocolate, I would say. Something with a little sweetness to it, but also a little bit of kick that takes you by surprise. And I think that I think maybe just because I like dark chocolate is why I'm saying that. But I think that's what I would say with it. It'd be something like that, something that's a little dark, a little unexpected, not everybody's taste, but some people are gonna love it. So, and you should all try it.
Oh yeah. That's right indeed. That's right indeed. That's right. Y'all need to try it, y'all. That's right indeed. Try the whole darn plate. That's right. That's right indeed. Means you gotta buy multiple copies, y'all.
That's right.
Oh man. Well, another fun question since you're all about success mindset. So my goodness. So if all journeys there's probably been some failures and setbacks along the way. So has there been one major setback that sticks out to you that actually became one of your greatest successes?
Well, it's been more recent, and it's more a tragedy than a setback, I think. But it's turned things around for me. I lost my mother the day after my birthday about 3 years ago, and then 19 days after that, I lost my only brother. Um, the same way, but they both had heart attacks very suddenly. And so I'd finally, within 19 days, had lost my entire family, aside from my husband. And the thing is that my brother, unlike me, the writer that went some weird direction nobody understood, he was a chemical engineer, worked with the oil companies, and he made really good money and apparently didn't spend very much of it. And so, I was able, from what I inherited, to be able to set up a fund at the university where I worked so that they could have a reading series and I could help out the creative writing students there even after I retire. And so I got to do some things, with some of the money that he left me, that helped other people. And I think that that's a tragedy that turned into something that I think is very uh, good thing. That a little off from the question that you asked me, but I think that that's the thing that comes to mind when you bring, the idea of something that turns into a success, out of something dark. If that's what comes to mind for me. I think I've been able to do a lot of helping with that, and so that feels good. It feels like it's something that I can finally give back, especially because we were kids, my brother and I, we went through a time when my dad lost his job because he wanted to unionize at the steam plant where he was working. And we were really in a bad way. We were, about to lose our house and all this other stuff, and people stepped up and helped us. And so I keep in mind that I owe back for the kindness of others in terms of helping my family. And so I have tried to do what I can to help others with what I gained from that, and help in ways that are important to me as well, in terms of the writing and the career of writing. So
Definitely so sorry for your loss on
thank you, thank
that
you.
front. Yeah, that's definitely rough,
Yeah.
and it's actually a wonderful thing that you're able to at least turn his your brother's wealth, leftover wealth, into an endowment for the future writers. Like, hey, creativity, y'all. It's definitely a
Hmm.
wonderful thing indeed. So definitely, and it's good that you have that giving mindset indeed. So that means you're good people. That's right, indeed.
Oh, well, thank you, thank you. I hope so. Hope so. I still have that little rebellious side in there, but you can be good people and be rebellious at the same time, I think. So
Oh yeah, that's right. I'm sure Robin Hood was one of them, right?
right. I'm not quite Robin Hood, but and I would look terrible in green tights. Trust me on that one. So
But hey, it's all good. It's all good. She ain't robbing no hoods, and she's all about still making great indeed. So we're coming down to the magical question that every guest gets to receive, and that is, if you're to
mm,
wake up tomorrow and you're 25 again, but you're in 2022, what advice would you give to yourself?
I would say keep going. Don't look back. Don't hold on for things and regret them. Just keep moving on. The regrets are going to hold you back, and you got to let it go. Just let it go. Let it slide off your back and keep moving forward. It's all part of the journey. The good and the bad. It's all part of the journey. So just keep going on that path, whether it's off the beaten path or not. Just keep going on that path.
Oh, yeah. That's right, folks. That's right. That path, y'all. That's right. Sometimes it may be beaten. Sometimes it may not be beaten. That's right, indeed. You didn't get the switch, y'all, as a kid. Sometimes you have to go on that path.
I can see we had similar backgrounds.
That's right, folks. Go on the path that didn't get the switch. Oh, man. So my goodness. I know folks need to beat a path to your door, and all your social media profiles will be able to look out for those two wonderful books you got cooking indeed. So for those who need to follow your journey, keep up with all the lovely stuff that the lovely Luanne is doing, what's the best way for folks to do so?
The best way is I have a website that is luannesmith.com basically. You can look me up. It's Luanne. And I keep a list on the website of what we're doing, and I have links to where to buy the books. And I'm starting to work on a blog a little bit and try to tell a few of my own stories and anecdotes about running away myself when I was a kid and grandpa. And trying, not totally serious, but little humor in there, and just getting my voice out there a little bit more. So that's where you can find me.
Oh, yeah, that's right, folks. That's right indeed. Well, there you have it, folks. Head over to luannesmith.com. We're going to put a link to that wonderful site in the show notes indeed. So that way you can check out her lovely blogs indeed, and be on the lookout, folks, for that one blog where she talks about when she ran away on Hump Day. There was a camel that she met that taught her about Aladdin and the folks out in Africa. It was crazy. I'm telling you. I'm telling you. That's best. That's not one of her blogs out. That's not one of
No, that one's your story, I think. That's your.
Yeah, it was an edible journey. Let me stop. Oh man. Well, before I make a penguin reference, so darn I did. Well, anyways, any parting words before we close up shop, Luanne?
As a retiree, a recent retiree, don't keep just working and working and working and working. Find your passion. And even if it comes after you're over 60 is when you get to dial into it, do it, find the passion and follow it. Because it is worth it. Absolutely worth it.
Hey, you. Yeah, you. The one listening right now. Thanks a bunch for sharing some of your time out of your day to listen to this podcast. To take it to the next level, be sure to share it with someone that you care about and that would get something out of this podcast too. Advance others to advance yourself.